turn time over to Chris. I'm excited to have him here today.
Thank you for having me, Dana. I first just wanted to say, when I originally talked to Dana a few months ago, and seeing what she put together about Thrive, I just realized how much thought has really gone into her business and how she presents herself. And I think things that go way beyond just typical financial advising in terms of helping individuals to develop. So I'm really proud to support her, and I think she's got a great thing going now with Edward Jones. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me. You might wonder, why am I the only man in the room? I'll leave that up to you to determine. It's probably because I'm really awesome, but no, again, just thank you for having me here. I had told Dana originally that one of my requirements was to have one of those headset microphones like Mark Zuckerberg or Steve Jobs, but I didn't have a black turtleneck to wear, so I'm here today to I wanted to start with a story of really one of the most successful entrepreneurs in American history. She's someone that I think in so many ways embodies what it meant to recognize her value and to make the most of achieving goals and living out her dream. In the late 80s, she was working in the film industry in Southern California, doing animation. Her real passion was around teaching, so she took a position with the Art College of Design in Pasadena, California, and started to teach students at that time about a burgeoning new technology of web design. Fast forward a few years later, discovering her passion around teaching, in 1996 she published a seminal book called Designing Web Graphics. And really at that time the book was intended to give non-techies insights into what web design was all about. She had cultivated this passion through when she got her first Apple computer. She picked up the manual and slogged through it from start to finish. She was so passionate about learning about new personal computing, technology, and web design. That sustained her until the time that she wrote her book, and during that time with the advent of the internet and e-learning spreading around, she started moving forward and started her own website. So, in so many ways, a pioneer of e-learning and technology, and she continued pursuing that passion into the early 2000s. She had been doing courses over the summer with her husband, and she was attracting people from all over the globe that wanted to learn how to do web design and were so impressed by everything she was doing. Even in the early 2000s, she had to lay off almost 3/4 of her staff at the time for her website, but she weathered the storm. She really believed in what she was doing. She knew her value, she knew her talents, her skills, and her experiences, and frankly, she knew that there was a market for what she was doing. As her website continued to grow, and at this point reaching tens, millions, hundreds of millions of people all over the world, she continued moving forward and realized that ultimately her end goal was to sell this website. So I asked you that the next time that you go on to LinkedIn and you maybe check out their learning section, it once was known as lynda.com. And just a couple years ago, Linda Weinman sold that business for the paltry sum of $1.5 billion to LinkedIn. I think in so many ways her story epitomizes obviously the American dream, but the true recognition of one's talents, skills, experiences, passion, and her values. So much of what she was about was a fire and enthusiasm for teaching people, helping other people to learn. She worked extremely hard at what she did. She had a lot of discipline in how she went about her business, and she persevered. So what is your value? What does that mean to you? As I just said, for me what it means is it's a recognition of our own talents. I truly believe that every one of us has God-given talents that are innately our own, things that we were given as a gift that we're meant to share with the world. And so much of life is really about figuring out what those talents are. We may not know right away. It may take us some time. If you're fortunate, maybe you do figure it out right away. So you start number one with talents. Numbers 2 and numbers 3, skills and experiences. What are the things that you've acquired and built along the way And when I say skills, obviously that translates both personally and professionally, and certainly your experiences do as well, personal and professional. Mix those in, and in your job and in your daily life, apply those to what you do. Number 4 is your passion. So I talk about enthusiasm, I use the word fire. What are the things that light the fire inside of you? You might be doing that right now in your day-to-day job. Maybe it's that hustle you have on the side, or maybe it's just simply the time that you spend with your family. What is the thing that ignites the fire in you, that gets you really excited, that makes you love what you do? And number 5, your values. And I transition from there to say, I think so much of what your value is, and recognizing what your value is establishing what your core values are. So much of the way that I've made sense of my own human experience has been through understanding and learning my core values. Understanding why I do what I do, and the things that I'm passionate about. These could be things, again, like, as we learned from Linda Weinman, hard work, discipline, fire, perseverance, honesty, faith, love. I think the sooner that you understand what your value structure is, the better prepared you will be to discover your value and to begin setting goals and planning. I tell the story of another woman who truly understood what resolve and perseverance was all about. And I think it's apropos for the discussion here today, with Dana being a financial advisor. I would imagine most women in the room know who Suze Orman is. How many of you know her own personal story? It's truly astonishing. She grew up in the south side of Chicago, attended the University of Illinois, but right before she graduated, she was just a few credits shy. She worked her entire way through college, scrubbing dishes, not a couple days a week, 7 days a week, to support her education through the university. A couple friends had an idea to move out to California, so she finished before graduating from the University of Illinois and went out to Berkeley, California, and started working in a restaurant out there as a waitress. And during that time, she realized that her real dream was to eventually start her own restaurant. She was working for Buttercup Bakery out in Berkeley, California. During that time, she eventually did meet the requisite requirement to graduate from the University of Illinois, but realized she had an entrepreneurial itch. During those 7 years at that restaurant, she developed and cultivated a great relationship with some of her customers. And these people saw her dream and realized that she was somebody special. They pulled together $50,000 to support her opening up her own restaurant. So Suze did what I think a lot of intelligent people would do. She took this large sum of money, recognized that she wanted to invest it, and she met with a Merrill Lynch financial advisor in Oakland, California. And what this man did was decide to get her into very speculative investments. Actually, quite the opposite of what Dana will do for you. He was deceptive, he was devious, and unfortunately, he squandered all $50,000 of her money. Kind of unbelievable, right? So at age 30, all of a sudden bankrupted, having spent the last 7 years as a waitress and finding herself further and further away from her dream, Suze Orman did what kind of defies explanation. She went back to that very same Merrill Lynch office in Oakland, California, and applied for a job. She learned how terrible it was to be in a position to not understand financial management, to not understand personal finance, and what a literal and figurative cost that was to her. So she started working at Merrill Lynch, and the time she was at Merrill Lynch ended up suing them and getting all of her money back. But during that time, she discovered her passion. It was to learn and to become the best in the world at what she could be as a financial advisor. She kept persevering. She got her money back. She stayed in that Merrill Lynch office for a couple years, later went on to Prudential, and less than 7 years later started her own incredibly successful investment company. The person that we know today, seemingly ubiquitous in the world of finance as a financial guru, is someone who's written numerous New York Times best-selling books, has her own show, had her own show on CNBC, and has shared her message of empowerment with women and financial education around the world. All of that was harnessed and developed from her experiences of reaching rock bottom and rising above and looking into her own heart and what she knew she could do. She persevered, she worked hard, she had the discipline to not give up, and she kept moving forward. Suze Orman had a plan. Values without a plan aren't really much. You need to have a game plan in life to supplement the values that you have. I learned that a couple years ago. I took a meeting in the summer of 2016. I kind of here and there just been doing some planning throughout my life, but I took a meeting with a gentleman that I thought was maybe going to open some doors to some job opportunities, and little did I know, it was one of the best meetings and best lessons in education that I've ever received. This man had been a successful entrepreneur, admitted he had actually kind of been out of the game for a little while. He was in his mid-50s, and he was telling me about how he started this business during his 30s, and when he was 41 years old, he sold this business for just north of $100 million to German titan Allianz. And as the meeting went on at Goldberg's New York Deli in Atlanta, which admittedly was an offense to my sensibilities as a native New Yorker, I will say that the bagel and a schmear was actually quite good. But what I learned in this meeting is that he said, "Chris, I don't really know if I can help you much. I don't really have too many connections anymore. I've been out of the game a little while. What I can share with you is what made me successful and why I sold this business for over $100 million. He said, "I had a plan. I had a 10-year plan for this business, and at every given point in my life, I had a 5-year plan personally for me." And he said, even having a plan is not enough. He said, "I encourage you to get incredibly specific about what it is that you want to do." He said, out of all of the lessons that I've learned in my life, having a plan and getting painstakingly specific about exactly what you want so that you can verbalize it, say it to yourself, say it to others, put it in writing, read it, speak it over your life every day. He said, that is why I succeeded. So I took that powerful lesson and I realized that through other parts of my life, I had applied some of the principles. You may be familiar with the best-selling book, Getting Things Done by David Allen. And I had grouped things into areas around personal development, professional development, my family life, which matters more to me than anything, my faith, my financial management, all of the areas of your life, and I started color coding these things. I still remember all the colors because I still use it today. I could rattle them off now. I'll spare you. But I think it's so important to do that, to group all of the things in your life that matter the most to you. That's really a major way in how you go about recognizing your value. So I coupled that with the knowledge of what that man had given me. And so I would say that, again, having values helps you to establish your value. Having a plan helps to really drive it forward and make it real. How many people here are familiar with the best-selling book, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod? In that book, he uses an acronym that is very, very easy to remember that I just wanted to walk through with you guys. I think to supplement your values and to supplement your plan, it's so important to have a routine. It could be a morning routine, it could be what you're doing on your way to work in some instances. You could apply some of these things. It's called SAVERS, S-A-V-E-R-S. S, silence. So a great example of that could be meditation. I use a website, I use an app called Insight Timer, and I've been using that a little bit more to learn more about meditation and to still and quiet my mind. It's really made a difference in my life. Prayer is another way. But also with silence, I'd encourage you about just having deep time for deep thought and how important it is to be able to reflect on your day, to think deep, big thoughts about things that really color and inspire you. I would even say, and at this point in my life, I think my wife could attest, that silence is very important when you have very young children. And I think we all need that time. A, affirmations. Speaking positive things over your life. I'm a really big proponent of celebrating your wins, from the small to the big. Now, there's a big difference between that and getting complacent. I would encourage you to never get complacent, but take time each day to speak positive things over your life. It feeds your subconscious mind, it feeds your conscious mind. It'll really help make a difference in the way that you see yourself and certainly the way others see you. Celebrate the wins, and that's part of what I would say with affirmations. Visualization. See yourself standing in the winner's circle. See yourself in that process of what you do. I know there's a lot of successful women in the room who are in the nonprofit world, in technology. There are some CPAs in the room, in the world of finance. Visualize what success looks like for you, not just on a daily basis or the hourly basis on the granular level, but at the long term. That visualization is incredibly important. I practice it in my life every single day. Exercise. All of us can spend just 5 minutes a day doing some push-ups, doing some crunches. The physical, certainly melding with the mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being in this SAVERS acronym. Reading. Find time each day, even if it's 15 minutes, it might be the first thing that you do every morning. Read, learn, get new skills. And then scribing is writing, certainly something that appeals to me as a writer, but have a journal. It could be OneNote, it could be Evernote, or some other digital note. It could just be the written journal that you keep. Write out the thoughts, write out the dreams of your imagination, write out what you've learned every day. SAVERS is a great way to take stock of that. And I think more importantly, SAVERS, think of it as self-care. I've learned a lot from friends and family in my life, and one friend that I've learned from a great deal is a woman who has lived her life with unparalleled confidence. After college, she started doing acting and theater in New York City. That led to comedy performances. And as she kept growing in that industry, she achieved success, and one of her real breakthrough moments was appearing on the show Last Comic Standing on NBC about 10 years ago. She told me once that she said, love yourself like you're your own mother. Speak positively over your life. It's important to solicit feedback in life, but it's even more important to distinguish between the negative and the positive. She said, I have a knack of overflowing my life with the positive. A couple years after that appearance, she had another breakthrough opportunity at the Comedy Central roast for Charlie Sheen. More of a R-rated matter, I might say. But Amy Schumer's success today, and I've known her from a very young age, is that she's lived her life with confidence. She's always believed in herself, frankly, more than almost anyone I've ever met. She's absolutely believed in what she's done. She's been supported and surrounded by people that have instilled confidence in her. But I think when it comes to values and when it comes to recognizing our values, confidence is so important. It's going to take you places that you probably never dreamed of. And it's a bedrock foundation of your value structure. So I talked a little bit about confidence, and I felt it would be important to reflect on the value for me that's the foundation of my value structure. It's faith. And one of the most meaningful things that I was given in life was this right here by my mom. My mom is no Linda Weinman. She's a little bit more in the paper and pen space here. And I've held on to this for years because this poem, and I included it in my book, The Value of You, has meant so much to me. I think so many people in life think of faith as a belief in God, which is incredibly important. I believe in God very passionately, and I think that spiritual side is immensely important. But when I talk about faith, I'm talking about having a belief in yourself, having a belief in your present, and having a belief in your future that you're going to live the life that you truly want most. So this is this poem called Believe. Believe in yourself, in the power you have to control your own life day by day. Believe in the strength that you have deep inside, and your faith will help show you the way. Believe in tomorrow and what it will bring. Let a hopeful heart carry you through. But things will work out if you trust and believe there's no limit to what we can do. Faith should be the bedrock foundation of your value structure. It will help you to recognize your value. And as you plan your goals and you strengthen your belief in yourself, it will become more apparent to you that everything that you really do want to achieve within reason can be yours if you really want it. Another value that I felt is very important to talk about is honesty and how we recognize our value. And for so many of us, again, it's with honesty we think about our dealings with other people and how we tell the truth. Very important. As Thomas Jefferson once said, honesty is the first chapter of the Book of Wisdom. I ask you to flip that paradigm around and think about honesty from the standpoint of being honest with yourself. Be honest about who you are and what you want to accomplish. Tell yourself the truth. Have dreams, but have goals that are practical and achievable. As one of my heroes, Denzel Washington, has said, have dreams, but have goals. Dreams without goals are just dreams. So be honest with yourself about who you are, what matters most to you, and I think that you'll find that as you do that, you'll recognize what your value is. It'll be that much easier to game plan around the goals that you want. Another Denzel quote that's a favorite of mine, especially now we hear so much about the process and the journey and how important that is. But he once said, without commitment, you'll never start. But more importantly, without consistency, you'll never finish. The journey is truly what matters in the end, but in order to begin, you have to be committed to start. You need consistency and repetition in what you do every day to finish. Again, going back to having a routine to back up that plan will help give you that consistency. I'll close with the words of a truly special woman, one of my very favorite quotes. Maya Angelou once said, give me a second, sorry. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. So I ask that as you look to yourself and find the value in you and you build your game plan for 2019, think about the value that you can give to other people. That's the reason for the season. That's what true value is all about. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So 3 lucky people today are going to leave with Chris's book. And I do want to say that I personally use the Savers